I'm Andrew, and welcome back to Custom Cards, where we teach you to make your own Magic the Gathering cards. Today we're designing black commons for a Norse-themed set using the categories we talked about in last week's video. We need to design 19 cards, and about 11 of them should be creatures. Let's start with the creatures we know we want to make. For our Deify card, let's have it trigger when your life total gets too low. That way, we can look for opportunities to enable it using black's ability to damage itself. Because we'd like the two effects to feel connected, what if the other side reduces each instance of damage you take to 1? Now we can also use black's ability to gain life to enable this side of the card. We also need to make some PILLAGE cards. PILLAGE is more efficient on smaller creatures, so you can replay them more easily. So let's put it on a 1-drop. Then, to add some pizzazz, let's make it drain the opponent when it enters. This guy is born and bred to pillage. You just need to find ways to get him through the opposing creatures. Let's make another pillage creature that has some natural evasion. Menace should do the trick. Black always gets a flyer at common, usually just one, and it tends to be worse than white or blue flyers. So what if we also tack on the downside black is famous for? DEATHTOUCH creatures like being small because they're created to trade off. We can also give it some minor death trigger. Exiling a graveyard is a good effect to have available, but not too punishing in this set, so it's probably safe to tack on. For lifelink, you want to be careful. It's a very swingy ability, so you generally want to keep your common lifelinker to 1 or 2 power. Often they're designed with low toughness to trade off and gain some life in the process, but I like to switch it up, so let's make a tankier creature. We also need at least 1 rune. What if we make a targeted discard spell, and the number of cards you get to choose from is based on the number of runes you control? Usually, a targeted discard spell specifies that you can't make the opponent discard a land. However, based on this wording from Disciple of Phoenix, here we don't need to make that restriction because the opponent is choosing which cards you get to pick from anyhow. And by the time you have enough runes to view their entire hand, it's past the point that discarding a land would cripple them. So it's more fair. Black also likes to use positive auras, so let's make a second rune. During my analysis, I found there weren't many black auras granting menace, and that feels wrong, so let's do that here and give stats that scale to your runes. For a black artifact, let's make another ship. To contrast the blue ship, let's make this one big, with a high crew cost. To offset this, we can give it an ability that you can use even when you aren't crewing it. Draining for 1 feels right for 4 mana. Now, whenever I make a vehicle, I also like to make a creature that excels at crewing it. It's some low-hanging card synergy. Black gained the ability to use flash creatures in Ixalan. What if we do that here, and when it enters the battlefield, it gains 2 power? That would allow it to ambush effectively, either by itself or crewing a vehicle that looks dormant. We could also use some removal. An unconditional kill spell is a given. To make something so common more interesting, let's also add Black's new ability to make the opponent sacrifice an enchantment. This isn't overly strong because it will probably hit a rune that's already gained value. However, it will be helpful in keeping future runes in check. We could also use a neg spell. Let's just do neg 3, and tack on some life gain. Now let's do card advantage spells. Black usually gets a divination that they have to pay life or sacrifice permanents for. As this set has a lot of runes lying around, let's make them sacrifice a creature or enchantment. Black also gets a disentomb effect. I really liked this card from Innistrad, so let's copy it, but with Vikings instead of zombies. And let's make a cantrip. If it grants Death Touch, just the threat of this spell could help our pillage creatures get through. Now I realize we've made Bladebrand, but that's fine. Don't be afraid to just reprint cards that make sense in your set. Now we need some more creatures. We don't have any scry yet, so let's put that on a death trigger on a reasonably sized creature. We also didn't do a mind rot, so let's put that on a creature. Mind rot itself costs 3, so this is going to be an extra mana for the 1/1 body. Notably, this is a good target for our Disentomb spell. We can make the decision to make this a Viking or not depending on how strong we feel bringing it back with that spell is. Black also likes to sacrifice creatures to make itself grow, so let's make one of those, but once again, add the ability to sacrifice a rune, giving them some more utility after they've hit the board. Finally, we need a vanilla creature. Because this can be any size, it's best to save it for last. It looks like we don't have any creatures costing more than 4, so let's make this a 5-drop. Let's give it high power so it can crew whatever ship we want to throw at it, and an appropriate toughness for the cost. And that's our black commons. Remember that everything we've designed so far is a first draft. Nothing is set in stone, and everything can change later as needed. We're just building a framework that will make it easier to flesh out our ideas. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments what black commons you would design for this set. We'll be back next Thursday to talk about red.